The story of Paul in the Bible begins with his conversion from a life of persecuting Christians to one of preaching the gospel. He was born in Tarsus and raised as a Jew in a strict Pharisaic family. He was educated in Jerusalem and became a zealous follower of Pharisaic ideals. Paul was sent to Damascus to persecute the new followers of Jesus, but had an encounter with Jesus on the road and became a convert and believer. After his conversion, Paul journeyed to Arabia and later back to Jerusalem to preach with the apostles. He then spent 3 years in Damascus, teaching and preaching, before traveling around the Mediterranean. During his travels he wrote letters to churches, which are now known as Pauline epistles. The main theme in Paul's letters is about the union of the Gentile and Jewish people through faith in Jesus Christ. Paul was arrested by the Romans and sent to Rome to stand trial. While in Rome, he wrote an epistle to the Philippians during a time of major persecution for the early church. After his trial, he was released from prison and eventually created churches in Asia Minor, Greece, and Rome. Paul's missionary journeys took him to many places and he was greatly responsible for the rapid expansion and growth of the church. He continued to travel in ministry until his arrest and eventual execution in Rome. Paul's example of faith and courage is an example for us today, and his letters provide invaluable insight into the teachings of the Bible. After his death, Paul's legacy left an indelible mark on the church and the world. Paul's ministry had a huge impact on the advancement of the Christian faith and helped to spread it around the world. He is remembered as one of the first Christian missionaries, and his life and teachings have been a light to generations of Christians since. His passion for evangelism and devotion to teaching the truth of God's Word are what inspired so many others to take up the gospel and spread it. Paul's life was a sacrifice, and his courage and faith are an example to all of us. His life was filled with struggles, difficulties, and persecution, but he never lost hope or faith. Even when facing trials or discouragement, Paul put his trust in God. He was willing to sacrifice himself to share the truth of Christ and eventually gave his life in the service of the gospel. Paul's legacy speaks of a commitment to serve God and shows how his faith and courage can guide all believers. His legacy of faith and courage has been an example for the church for centuries. His writings have provided insight and guidance, and his missionary journeys have helped spread the gospel to all nations.